Namaste Acharya ji. Welcome. I have a few questions for you, so let's start with the first one. Can you tell us about your early experiences learning yoga under the guidance of your father, your Guru Bharat Bhushan ji, and how that shaped your path towards becoming a yoga expert?
Wow. I believe this is a question which is being asked to me so many times, and I always give one answer, and that is मछली के बच्चे को तैरना नहीं सिखाया जाता. You cannot teach a baby fish how to swim because a baby fish will naturally learn how to swim. And that's how our sanskars work. That's how the environment of our home, our house works. That's how what our parents are doing, we naturally learn it. And similarly happened with me. I strongly feel that I was fortunate enough, and maybe these are some good karmas from my past life, that I got birth to such parents, to such lineage, where my grandfather, Pandit Bishambar Singh Ji, was a Swatantrata Senani, a freedom fighter, Shikshavid, and he worked a lot in the field of yoga, spirituality, education. And then my father, and then I'm the third generation. And I also feel, of course, yoga I learned naturally because that is what I was grown up looking at. Similarly, like if you ask me, my mother tongue is Hindi, or maybe any mother tongue that you have. You might have your mother tongue English, Tamil, Hindi, or any other Gujarati, any other language. So you don't need to learn your mother tongue, do you? You don't. So I don't need to learn Hindi. Hindi is something which is inbuilt in me because I am grown up seeing people speaking in Hindi. So even while speaking in English, I need to translate in my mind, right? Because my mother tongue is Hindi. But to speak in Hindi, I don't need to give a second thought because that's how I have been conditioned to speak. Similarly, yoga is something which I got in my DNA, and which is now that's something which I had seen while growing. So it was not that we were told. I was not told that this what you are doing is so and so and so. I just grabbed it. I learned it naturally, and I think that's why I always say this year International Day of Yoga theme is also yoga for women. So when somebody asks me, Acharya ji, what is the right age for a child to start yoga? I always say no. There is no right age for children to start yoga. Mothers should start doing yoga because we belong to that culture where Abhimanyu learned the entire Chakravyuh Bhedan within the womb of his mother. So I always say when somebody asked me, I was in London and there was an interview going on, and they asked me, Acharyaji, when did you start your yoga training? So I said when I was in the womb of my mother, and that's so true because there are a few things that you get in sanskars. So I'm blessed that I'm the third generation I'm the third generation, and more than that, my father didn't wait for a son to pass on this lineage, which is very unfortunate that these days people think that, oh, we need a son to pass on the lineage. So I always say I am the biggest example of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. And we should pass on the lineage to our Shishya, our students, our children, and let yoga become a sanskar for them. And at Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan, we call it Yoga Sanskar. So we work with children, we work with youngsters because गुरुदेव always say a beautiful thing that कच्ची मिट्टी को हम जैसी चाहे आकृति दे दें पर एक पके हुए घड़े को हम आकार नहीं दे सकते. So it's very important that we induce this yoga sanskar among youngsters so that not only their life will become better, we will be able to make this world a better place. So I think I'm blessed that I was initiated into yoga at a very, very young age.
Now, my second question is, as the youngest Yogacharya and mind therapist, what inspired you to pursue a career in yoga at such a young age? And what challenges did you face breaking into the field?
Yes. Now, of course, I was practicing yoga since a very young age. Then, even my proper education was in the field of culture, classical dance, classical music, yoga. And let me share a very interesting incident with you. Since my childhood, I just wanted to collaborate these sciences of ancient India, cultural pearls from ancient India, classical dance, music, yoga, spirituality, because they all are, you know, different sides of the same coin. I also got national scholarship in theatre Rangamanch when I was young, and that was the time when I got proposal from media. So I got many media proposals, and during that time there was a very popular serial. I would not take the name, and one of the biggest media houses they approached me for the lead role. Since my childhood, I used to wake up at 4 in the morning and I used to meditate, and I still do it every single day. So I woke up in the morning, I was very confused what to do. Uh, Biggest media house, lead role, big proposal. So I woke up in the morning at 4 and I was meditating. And I have always seen when you wake up in the morning, you do the right meditation, you get the answers from the universe. That's the most beautiful aspect of yoga. So that was the moment I realized that Paramatma is taking my pariksha, my exam. How firm I am towards my path. So there are so many distractions, but do I get distracted? Or I'm so firm in that one belief, that one thought on which I was grown up, that I have to make this world a better place through yoga, through spirituality, through classical forms. And that was the moment that all my confusions were gone, all my distractions were gone, and I became more focused. Now, your question, that what inspired me, because as a youngest yogacharya, so it was, I was really young at that time when I got, we did this Jago Bharat campaign, Yog, Ise Kehte Hain Yog. And the idea behind that was that when you look at someone of your own kind, of your own age, of your own type, you get inspired. So, till that time, there was a misconception about yoga that this is something which has to be done after a certain age. This is something which I have to do after crossing 40s or 50s or 60s. Oh, let me marry my children and then I'll start my journey towards yoga. Oh, let me finish my exams and then I'll start my journey towards yoga. So people had this perception in their mind that yoga is something which is for old aged people rather than youngsters. Oh, youngsters should go and do different kinds of Pilates, Zumba, gym, or whatsoever. So that was the idea behind this youngest yogacharya thing, that when you will see someone like you get inspired. And by the divine grace and by the blessings of my guru, I could inspire many women and many youngsters. And I think Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan came out as such an institute where we could produce number of young yoga shikshaks, yoga teachers, and not just yoga teachers, female yoga teachers. So even in one of the interview few days back, I was asked this question that, oh, Acharya ji, when we hear the word Acharya, we have this state of mind that we are talking about a male person. So look at this, how we are so biased about, we are so discriminated about gender even. But today we have many female acharyas of Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan, and they are working very well. So maybe I was the first, but then we produced so many female and also male young yogacharyas from Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan, and they all are working very well. So I believe if you look at someone like you get more inspired, and then you also start walking on that path.
Wow, that's wonderful. You have traveled extensively and conducted yoga sessions in various countries. How have these experiences influenced your approach to teaching yoga and spreading its benefits globally?
Yes, that's true. I have also served my country as a senior diplomat because I firmly believe that yoga, classical dance, music, culture, these are such tools of soft diplomacy which can be used positively to make our country a superpower. And present government is doing a lot for that, because since I have worked very closely with present government, and in previous times also I had worked, but especially this time I see immense change. So when I started traveling abroad, and when I saw people being so crazy about yoga, I still remember there was an international conference. So I was I went to a country and then we invited those people to India. So there were so many yoga gurus from different corners of the world. So there was a yoga teacher from Germany. She came here and we were having this conference, and she said, I'm very grateful to Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan for organizing this event, and so and so and so. And she said, when I was coming to India, that was the first time she came to India. And she said, when I was coming to India, I had this perception and this image in my mind that I'm going to get down off my plane and I will see everyone doing yoga. So we laughed. But then she said, but things were really different. Because I have seen people very, very crazy for yoga in my country. But when I visited India, I thought everybody will be doing yoga. But no, I could not see that. So that was a very important point that touched my heart. And then, other than that, I went to Iceland. So it was for the first time that a classical dance performance happened at Iceland, and I was fortunate enough to be the one to perform in front of the our then President of India, Kalam Sahab, and then the President of Iceland. Reykjavik is the capital where this program happened, and there was an escort who was given to me, and he was taking me to different places in Iceland, and he said, which language do you speak in India? So I said, we speak so many languages. So I said, generally, like, you speak in Hindi? I said, yeah, I speak in Hindi. So most of the Indians who come here, the majority of Indians speak in Hindi. I said, yeah, majority of Indians speak in Hindi, but we have different states, different languages. He said, that's fine. So he said one thing. He said, I can understand all your Hindi. What kind of Hindi do you speak? I said, why? So he said, you speak few words in Hindi and then 4 lines in English, then few words in Hindi, 4 lines in English. I can understand all your Hindi. So that was the moment again I realized that not just the language. I'm not saying you speak in Hindi or you speak in Tamil or you speak in Telugu, you speak in English, whichever language you're speaking, speak pure language. Similarly, whichever ancient science you are doing, whether you're doing classical dance, whether you are doing yoga, whether you are doing music, do it in purity, you know. But we have just mixed, I call it mix and match. So I call it choreography. So I always say choreography has become a choreography. So we have somehow mixed up so many things all together. So it's very, very important that we maintain the purity of a particular science or a particular art which comes from ancient India. That was the moment we realized that we need to bring Bharat Yoga in picture. So when I say Bharat Yoga, Bharat is the name given to our country much before India. We were not known as India that time, we were known as Bharat. So it was long back in 1973 that Gurudev had this vision, Swami Bharat Bhushanji, that the way yoga is being divided into so many parts, Falana yoga, Dimaka yoga, nude yoga, iron yoga, this yoga, that yoga, and nowadays too we are seeing beer yoga and so many such kinds of yogas which don't even go with the yoga philosophy. So there will be a time when people need to look at the classical and traditional aspect of yoga with a scientific and spiritual approach. So there in 1973 he established Bharat Yoga. Now when we say Bharat Yoga, there are so many practices which are being included along with the traditional and classical practices. So Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan is not just a training institute but also a research center. So Gurudev did research on several aspects of yoga. So yoga gatis were developed. Bharat Yoga Panchatattva Kriya was developed. Bharat Yoga Gharshan Kriya was developed. Now, I see many people making videos on Gharshan Kriya, and the most interesting part is they make a video on Gharshan Kriya saying Bharat Yoga Gharshan Kriya. So nowadays it's like copy and paste going on. But still, we feel that at least people are becoming aware of these things. So then we have Bharat Yoga special meditations, because every moment, kshane kshane yannavatam upeti tadev rupen ramaniyataya. So every second your body is changing. Similarly, your problems are changing. Similarly, your diseases are changing. So with the traditional and classical approach, we have joined the spiritual and scientific approach to it, developing so many new things. But when we teach, We tell them that this is a traditional practice, this is a contemporary practice. And we also ask our teachers to tell others that this is a contemporary practice, this is a traditional practice, so that the original form of yoga shall not be distorted, shall not be, वो भंग नहीं होना चाहिए. So, this way, after visiting so many countries, we realized that we need to keep alive the philosophy of yoga. We need to keep alive the traditions of yoga. We need to keep alive the classical aspects of yoga. And we need to keep alive the real Bharat Yoga.
Since you have also served as a senior diplomat, could you share some insights into scientific benefits of yoga that you discovered at a young age and how these insights inform your teaching and practice?
Yes, of course. You must have noticed during this entire interview, I used one word repeatedly: ancient science of India, ancient science of Bharat. So I believe yoga is, of course, yoga is science, yoga is spirituality. And there was a very popular show of mine also where from the Indian culture, insights to Indian culture, we discussed about the scientific aspect of everything we do in Bharat and Bharatiya Sanskriti, Indian culture. So yoga is scientific. Yoga is not a miracle. And if somebody says so, that's the biggest mistake. But this is also true that science is evolving. Science, what is science? They look at something, they experiment on that, and then they prove it. But to do the experiment, first that thing needs to exist. So there are so many dimensions which are still unexplored by the modern scientists. But that doesn't mean that our rishis and our saints, who were scientists of their time, who were scientists of their era, they were unaware of that. So there are so many dimensions which still needs to be explored by the modern science, but in yogic culture, we follow that. And then there is a very popular saying, pratyaksham kim pramanam. Pratyaksha ko praman ki avashyakta nahi hai. So when you look at the results yourself, you don't need any evidence for that because that's so visible. So if I look at my own life, I had been a topper throughout my life. I have done so many things in my life. So I was a gold medalist from National Institute of Kathak. I became one of the youngest diplomats. I worked on the similarities between classical dance and music. I worked as a media person. I worked as the youngest yoga Acharya. I worked as an administrator. I worked as an artist. I worked as a cultural philosopher. I have authored so many books. So when people say, how is it possible that you had been best? I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a daughter, I am a guru. So people say you wear so many hats. Now this is possible only and only because I live a yogic lifestyle. Otherwise, there are so many people who can't even fulfill one responsibility in their life. And I think I have fulfilled all my responsibilities well. And the reason is only and only yoga is there in my roots. So I think yoga, the basic definition itself says now, yoga karma kaushalam. So whatever I try to do it perfectly. Why? Because I have that focus, that strength, that science of yoga with me. So if you talk about yoga and science, yoga is science. If you talk about yoga and spirituality, I would say yoga is spirituality. Today I'm surprised when people say, oh, yoga guru, matlab kasrat guru. No, yoga is not just exercise. Yoga is not just mere set of physical exercises, not mere set of respiratory practices, not mere set of meditations. It is a complete lifestyle. So I always say, see, what is the basic definition of yoga? Sanyogo yoga ityukto jivatma paramatmano. Joining your personal soul to universal is yoga. What is adhyatma? Spirituality, adhijama atma. Atma ki unnati. Raising your atma, raising yourself is spirituality. So what is yoga? Journey from personal soul to universal. You are raising yourself every second, every moment, and in a very systematic way. Similarly, you're raising yourself in spirituality. So yoga is spirituality. There is nothing other than yoga is spirituality. You have to become a yogi to be spiritual, and yoga is science.
Now let's come to the Bharat Yoga tradition of yoga. Can you elaborate it a little bit more and share your insights on Bharat Yoga tradition?
Yes, of course. Bharat Yoga, given by Gurudev Swami Bharat Bhushanji. So it was back in 1973, as I said in the earlier answer also. So he established Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan, and he realized that the way there are different streams of yoga coming into into main light. When I look at yoga, let me just give you a very simple example. If you look at a Hindi mark sheet, at the end it is written yoga. If you look at an English mark sheet, at the end it is written total, right? So yoga means total. Yoga means to live your life in totality. Yoga means to sum. Yoga means totality. When the word itself means total, how you can divide it into so many streams? This is okay, fine. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raj yoga, hat yoga. These are anyway, these come from the traditional aspect. But today, what do we see? Iron yoga, hot yoga, nude yoga, beer yoga. They don't even go with the philosophy of yoga. So Gurudev, somewhere he had this intuition long back in 73, and he realized that there will be a day where yoga will become so distorted that people will look at the traditional aspects of yoga to get the complete blissful state, to get into the complete blissful state. See, from temporary things, you can only get temporary happiness. To be in a blissful state throughout your life, samatvam yoguchyate, you need to look at yoga in totality. So somebody has taken only asana, somebody has taken only respiratory practices, and now I'm even more surprised. Dhyan became mindfulness, asana became posture with the translated names. Pranayam became coherent breathing. I was surprised when somebody told me he was doing Nadi Shodhan and he said it's coherent breathing. So somewhere these pearls from your traditions are getting distorted. Now here comes in picture Bharat Yoga. Bharat Yoga means yoga in samagrata, yoga in totality. So in 1973, Gurudev established it to restore, to promote and propagate the traditional and classical aspects of yoga, where bhakti is also included, gyan is also included, where raj is included, hat is included, where karma is also included, and then becomes the entire Bharat Yoga. But it's not just the traditional aspect. With time, because your body is changing with time, your problems are also changing with time. So he developed such practices which can give benefit to many people within the parameters of yoga. So Bharat Yoga Gatis got developed. Bharat Yoga Panch Tattva Kriya, Bharat Yoga Virechan Gati, Bharat Yoga Gharshan Kriya got developed. Then different story meditations, Sthul Dhyan, Atmadarshan Dhyan, so many meditation techniques were developed in Bharat Yoga tradition. And today we have developed thousands of Bharat Yoga teachers. We have given Bharat Yoga teachers to the world who are working selflessly to benefit humanity at large. So this Bharat Yoga tradition is something which unites the different aspects of yoga altogether. And I would just say traditional and classical yoga from Bharat, the motherland of yoga science, with a more spiritual and scientific approach given by Gurudev Swami Bharat Bhushanji to the world is Bharat Yoga. And today, world has accepted it with broader hands, broader hearts, and broader heads. And we are working towards making this world a better place through this tradition.
Wow, you are not only a legendary yoga guru, but also a cultural philosopher and a Kathak exponent. How do you integrate elements of dance and artistic expressions into your yoga sessions?
Yes, I have also worked as a senior diplomat, and I my expertise when I was a student was on the similarities between classical dance and yoga, and therapeutic elements of yoga and classical dance. So there are so many, so many. I always say I am a blessed one because Pranita of yoga is Mahadev, Bhagwan Shiv, and Pranita of Nritya, classical dance. Nritya dance is also Bhagwan Shiv. So that's why he's called Nataraj as well as Yogiraj. So I am blessed with his blessings that I have got both with me, the Nataraj aspect and the Yogiraj aspect. And they are not different, they are very similar to each other. Just look at this mudra. When this mudra comes here, it becomes a mudra of Nritya. When it comes here, it becomes a mudra of yoga. Similarly, there are navaras, so 8 basic expressions and emotions, which leads us towards the ninth one, which is shant, the peace. And here we have 8 limbs of yoga: yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, and it takes us towards the ultimate peace, shanti. So I always say either you learn to rest in peace or God will rest you in peace, you know. So we need to learn to be in a peaceful state, and that's what we do through yoga. Then there is complete control over body. So in Nritya we call it karanas. In yoga philosophy, we call it asanas, then mudras, hand gestures, then expressions, emotions, control over your, and even your diseases are related to your emotional health. We feel, oh, somebody has got sugar, diabetes. But why they have got sugar is because of these secretions from the pituitary gland. Now, why they are not getting proper secretions from the pituitary gland, or why they are disturbed, because of their emotional health. So, stress, emotional health, plays a very key role in our overall health, which brings classical dance into picture. So I have done a lot of work on the similarities and therapeutic elements of classical nritya and yoga, and we have developed some very interesting gatis movements, and also some very interesting meditations, taking the creative aspect of nritya, joining it to the spiritual aspect of yoga, and then coming out with a complete emotional balance. So I would say I am really, really blessed to be able to have Bhagwan Shiv's Natraj and Yogiraj blessings on me. And I think every parent should encourage their children to learn any of the classical form, and, of course, to practice yoga regularly.
In your opinion, what role does yoga play in empowering youth and building future leaders? Can you elaborate on the special youth programs you conduct at Mokshayatan International Yoga Ashram?
Oh, most important role, most important role. If I look at Prime Minister Modi's schemes, most of them are yoga schemes. So if we look at demonetization, what is it? It is aparigrah. It is plainly, simply aparigrah. If I look at Shauch, Shuchita Abhiyan and a cleanliness drive, what is it? It is Shauch, which we learn in Niyam. So I always call him a yogi prime minister. So he is a living example. If we talk about future leaders, he's a present leader which comes from a yogic background. So see how he has inspired not just youth but the entire world. Similarly, at Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan, we also see Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan is based on 4 shalas. One is Patshala, Gaushala, Yajnashala, Vyayamshala. So at Patshalas, we have our own school and college, College of Performing Arts, Bharat College of Performing Arts, and School Nation Builders Academy. The name itself is Nation Builders. We make those who are going to make this nation tomorrow. So it's very, and there we give English medium, but yoga oriented education. So our children speak in Hindi, Sanskrit, English all together with a very good command. I firmly believe if we want to see a better world tomorrow, we need to create yogis today. And we have to induce this yogic sanskar in children from a very, very young age. And we need to induce this yogic sanskar among women, because they are the only ones who are going to make our true nation builders. So I believe that women need to take charge, women need to come to the mainstream and work in this field of yoga and spirituality, so that we can make world a better place. Now, I would just say we have a tagline: let's make this world a better place with Bharat Yoga. But we need to leave a better world for our coming generations, but also we need to leave a good generation for the coming world. And for that, we need to teach them yoga, but not just as a form of exercise. Not that they have taken breakfast or after their lunch break, they are doing Tadasan and Mrinalasana, not thinking about the philosophical aspect, not taking the proper precautions. So we teach them asana, we teach them pranayam, we teach them dhyan, but also we teach them yam and niyam. Also we teach them how to follow the path of ahimsa, how to follow the path of satya. And if everybody starts following the path of ahimsa, there will be no terrorism. If everybody starts following the path of satya, truthfulness, there will be no corruption. If everybody starts following the path of brahmacharya, the true brahmacharya, brahmajama acharan, there will be no crime against women. So we will be having such a beautiful world if we start teaching our children about yoga from a very, very young age.
As a mind therapist, how do you approach mental wellness through yoga? What techniques or practices do you recommend for mastering the mind?
मन एव मनुष्याणां कारणं बन्धमोक्षयो. मन, mind is the reason behind all the liberation and behind all the bondages. So, unfortunately, we are being body trained. We are truly body trained. So, if I ask you, lift up your hand, you'll lift up your hand. If I'll ask you, bend a little, you'll bend a little because you have been taught doing that. But if I ask you, come on, smile, you can smile from the outer body. If I ask you, become sad, you will say, what? How do I become sad? So, become happy. How do I become happy? Because we are not being mind trained. We are not taught how to control our mind and its modifications. And yoga is about yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta ki vrittiyon ka nirodhi yoga. How do we control our mental modifications? That is what yoga is about. So, as a mind therapist, I have observed in my life that 99% of your physical problems are also related to your mind. So, when I believe I'm diseased, I'm diseased. When I believe I'm perfectly fine, I become fine. So, let's say, for an example, I tell you today you're looking very nice. So, what will happen? You will go into the mirror and you say, Guruma said I'm looking nice, that means I'm looking nice. So till now you are being trained to look at someone else for the justification, for the motivation. But what we do in some specific mind therapy practices of Bharat Yoga, we do all that to ourselves. Like let's say happy hormone. So there is a hormone which is dopamine, which is a reward hormone. So science says somebody rewards you, you become happy because dopamine is released. At Bharat Yoga, we say you reward yourself and dopamine will be released. So oxytocin is you get a touch from the loved one and oxytocin is released. At Bharat Yoga philosophy, we say you touch yourself because you love yourself and then oxytocin is being released. So instead of looking at someone else for justification, someone else for the recommendation or motivation, through mind therapy, we do all this to ourselves. And there are certain practices that we do in Bharat Yoga. One is very, very popular, Bharat Yoga's self-talk therapy, which is somehow, those who don't know about it, they think that it is auto-suggestions, but it's not auto-suggestion. Bharat Yoga's mind therapy, self-talk therapy is a wonderful way to control your mind and its modifications. And then you actually realize that man eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. Mind is the bondage, mind is the liberation, and we want to liberate, right? Nobody wants to, everybody wants to be free. Even if you are into a toxic relationship, what do you want? You just want to get rid of that because you love your freedom. So, why you are becoming slave of your own mind? Use your mind to liberate, not to bind you.
So, what are your aspirations for the future of yoga education and practice, both in India and globally? How do you envision making a meaningful impact on the world through yoga?
I strongly feel in this era of artificial intelligence, in this era of machines, the only thing we need is yoga. And we need to teach yoga to our youngsters. When I look at it, maybe people around me many times say that yoga has no future. What after 10 years? AI will take over everything. They say, oh, Guruma, you have more than 2 million family on social media alone. Approx 2 million at YouTube, and then AI will come, AI will take all your data and all your knowledge, and AI will make videos to people. That's okay, but nobody can replace Acharya Pratishtha because nobody can replace my sanskars. Nobody can replace the knowledge that I have gained from my guru. Similarly, we need to pass on this knowledge to the younger generation. And after 10 years, the most important thing that will be left will be the true, real Bharat Yoga that comes from the traditional Bharat, the cultural aspect of yoga. Because people will look at it for not just physical relief, but mental relief, spiritual relief, emotional relief. Because Bharat Yoga is something that touches all the levels of human life, whether we talk about physical level, mental, emotional, social, intellectual, financial, and even spiritual. So, future of yoga is bright if we learn it in the correct way. If we just take it as only breathing, only physical exercise, only chotu chotu chotu, no. When we learn it in samagrata, This is the future, and we can save the world only and only by becoming a yogi. Now, just let me give you a very small example. So, these clothes that you wear, do you even know how much pollution that generate? Because our wardrobe is full of clothes. So we learn to minimize our needs when we become yogi. So when people say, you wear only one color, one or two colors, and just same dhoti, kurta, and dupatta, because that minimizes my requirement and that saves the world. Similarly for food. Yukta ahara viharasya. What shall be the diet of a yogi? Very little. What shall be your drinking capacity? Very little. How much you should be using the resources? Very little. So yoga is the only thing that is going to save the world. Otherwise, we'll be having a very tough time after 10 years. So we need to work on that from today, and we need to make this world a better place through yoga philosophy.
Finally, could you share some memorable teaching moments or success stories that highlights the transformation power of yoga in someone's life?
Well, in someone's life, though, I have millions of such stories. You just just Google it, Acharya Pratishtha's yoga, Bharat yoga, and just look at the success stories. How people cured their such diseases which they thought I would never be able to cure. And we have such examples that medical doctors said that you can't survive more than 6 months. They came to Mokshayatan Sansthan and they did the proper treatment. And today they are not just surviving, their next generation is also coming to Mokshayatan Yoga Sansthan, and they dedicated their life to Mokshayatan, to Bharat Yoga, because it happened to 2, 3 patients, and they said, anyway, doctors told us that we won't live more than 6 months, but we are surviving. We are here. So this life we dedicate to Vandani Gurudev or to Bharat Yoga tradition. But I would not talk about someone. I would talk about myself. So as a child, now people say, "Oh, you are so confident. You speak so well. You're so beautiful. You're so this and that and that." I was not born like this. Though I was born in the tradition of yoga, in the family of yoga, but I saw myself changing with time, with the yoga philosophy. And yoga turned me, in school, I was not a very bright student in the sense who used to score so many marks. No, I was not, because I was so distracted towards so many things. Oh, classical dance, music, yoga, and theater, and so many things. But gradually I learned how to balance this, and then I became a topper in every aspect of my education. I became a topper in everything I did, in my personal life, in my professional life. So I believe this whole transformation happened only and only because of yoga. So, someone's story, I have so many. But I look at my own story, it transformed my life. And today, a day when I have not practiced yoga is not a day I have lived. So, I share this with all my students and my disciples. Never quit sadhana. Even if you have 10 minutes, just meditate for some time. You have 5 minutes, do pranayam for some time. You're traveling, do something while traveling. But don't quit your sadhana. Don't skip your sadhana even for a day, because that is the only thing that keeps you going. So, to talk about transformation, I take my own example. My life has been changed. And if my life can change, your life can also change.
So, how promising is a career in this field?
Most promising. Most promising. Now, it depends on what you are looking at. Always remember, if you will run behind something, that thing will always be ahead of you. So if you're running behind money, paisa chahiye, paisa chahiye, paisa chahiye, so paisa is always ahead of you. You will keep running. Even in relationships, I always say this to youngsters. Sometimes you like someone and you're just running behind that person. So that person will run more far away from you. No, don't do this mistake. When you talk about promising career, focus on your work. Focus on your work. Don't work for money. Don't work for fame. Don't work for attaining something. Just work. What I have learned from my guru, I have to spread it. I have to promote it. I have to propagate it. And trust me, when you will just work, money will follow. Yash, fame will follow. Whatever you want will follow you. And more than that, you will get an inner satisfaction. So, if you talk about how promising this career is, most promising, because this is the only thing, if done in the right way, as I told you just now, this is the only thing that's going to give you health, that's going to give you wealth, that's going to give you fame, that's going to give you satisfaction, contentment. So, be a yogi.
What message do you have for the youth who are interested in entering this field?
Do not wait. Do not ask others for their opinion. Just remember one thing: this is a science, this is an art which can give you whatever you want. So I'll just wind up with a very beautiful incident from my own life. There are three. These days, all the yoga people you see, somewhere they have learned directly, indirectly from Gurudev Swami Bharat Bhushan ji. And that's the reason he was the first yogi to receive Padma Award in the field of yoga back in 90s. And it was not an achievement for him because he got first Padma Award, but because of him, the Yoga Vidya got the first Padma Award. So he always says that was my biggest achievement. Now, all the yogis that you see today have somewhere directly, indirectly learned from him. And when I was very, very small, it was Guru Purnima and three very popular yoga people from yoga field. I would not take names. So they were there. They were very young that time, and they were just on Guru Purnima. All shishyas come from different corners of the world, and they were sitting in front of Gurudev, and they said, "What yoga has given to us?" So Gurudev said a beautiful thing. He said, "Yoga will give you whatever you want from yoga, but you have to decide what do you want. So you want money, it will give you money. You want fame, it will give you fame. You want contentment, santosh, it will give you contentment, but you have to decide what you want." And among these three, one is very rich today, one is very famous today, and one is really contented today. And I will add to it, and if you want a balance of three, it will give you that also. So I look at my example. You have enough. What more I can ask from Paramatma? For wealth, for fame, and the contentment I have. So if you want to have balance of three, start. If you want to have anyone, start. Do not wait. Start your journey towards becoming a yogi, because until and unless you will not become a yogi, not just because you want to teach. There are many people who say we don't want to become yoga teachers. Shall we also do yoga teacher training? I always say 200 hours of yoga instructor course of Bharat Yoga everybody should do. Go to the nearest center of Bharat Yoga, do it from there, or join our online courses from the comfort zone of your home. But you do it because in these 200 hours, your concept about life, your concept about living, your perception about life will be changed, and you will be a changed person. You will know how to heal your body, mind, and soul, and you will know the pearls from this ancient science. So, whether you want to become a teacher or not, whatever you want to become, you can become perfect in that only and only by becoming a yogi. Yogi bane, upyogi bane, sahayogi bane, nirogi bane.
Thank you, Acharya, for this wonderful and insightful conversation. I'm really grateful to you for joining us today.